Good morning, folks. You're very welcome to Bandido Talks. We're out in nature again, folks. It's been a little while since we've done a Lessons in Nature. And you know, we've got the perfect topic this morning. You know, did any of you see what has happened recently? You know, in the last 24 hours, maybe less. You know, did you see the social media ban? You know, the under 16s. By the time we get to spring 2027, the under 16s will not be allowed to use social media. They are banned. Banned from social media. And you know, we talked about this on previous episodes, folks. This looked like it was coming. It's not that surprising. So you know, here we are out in nature. And isn't it funny, the contrast? Because we're out in nature and we're going to try and learn a lesson from this social media ban for under 16s in the UK that's going to come in spring 2027. The under 16s won't be allowed on social media. So we're going to come out into nature and talk all about this and see if we can extract a lesson. But look, let me make one thing clear before we start. Do I, Mr. Bandido, and here comes the sun. Do I, Mr. Bandido, agree with this social media ban? Do I agree that the government should step in, intervene, and ban under 16s across the country from using social media? No, I do not. If I were in government, which I am obviously not, and never will be, but if I were in charge of a country, that is not what I would be doing. I would not be imposing restrictions. I would not be imposing how I think other people should live their lives. That's not my game. That's not my cup of cha. So I wouldn't be doing it. And I fundamentally do not agree with anybody else who is trying to impose their worldview, impose being the key word, not educate, not offer an opinion. I don't agree with people imposing themselves on other people, whether that be themselves physically or their worldview. And so the government is imposing its worldview, its agenda, onto the young people of the UK. I don't agree with that. I don't agree with the idea of doing that, the act of doing that. So let's just make that clear to start with. I ain't on board with any of that. But it has happened, folks. So whether I agree or not, it has happened. And it's probably going to happen. When it comes around to June 2027, the under 16s are probably going to be banned from social media. So there's no point in us crying over what has happened and what is going to happen. What we now need to do is shift our focus. That's what we're going to do here this morning. I don't agree with it, and I can understand why the under 16s are going to be pissed off about it, and I can understand why a whole bunch of adults will be pissed off about this too. Because as we've said in previous episodes, this is perhaps where it starts. It starts with under 16s, but then all of a sudden, you know, it's not now just the under 16s mental health. Oh no, it's the under 21s. The under 21s have mental health problems too. So we're going to have to ban social media for the under 21s. And bejesus, the under 30s, etc, etc. You know, you can extend the net of mental health and addictive online social media processes to any fucking age group. And before you know it, Grandma, who's 92 years of age, has mental health problems because of social media, so we have to ban social media for the under 92s. You know, some people, some adults will be thinking, you know, this is just the beginning. This is the foot in the door. The under 16s, the emotional argument is being used to get you on board with under 16s being banned from social media, but before you know it, the same emotional argument is going to be used for other age groups. And then in comes a whole wave of censorship for people who didn't initially think they were going to be affected, because they endorsed the initial censoring of the under 16s. Look, there will be adults as well who will be looking at this and going, yeah, this is a sign of things to come. Now that the foot's in the door and the under 16s are banned, and the reason, of course, folks, why they're banned is because mental health, addiction, they are, quote, wasting their time. So the government is deciding to impose its agenda onto the young people of the UK, thinking it knows best. It knows what to do best. It knows better than them. I don't agree with any of that. I just don't agree with other people imposing what they think onto other people. But it's happened. And there will be people concerned by this, because they will think that this is only going to go one way. There will be people, adults now, who think that it's not going to just stop at the under 16s, because if your reason for banning the under 16s is mental health, fucking addiction, suicide, and all of this crap, well then, if it can happen to under 16s, there's no reason in principle why they wouldn't extend this to other age groups. And before you know it, everybody's getting censored. Maybe not outright, maybe there's not an outright ban, but you could easily start to see how this is the beginning of a more strict, stringent, restrictive, confining, we could say, movement that's going to begin. Alright, but it's happened. The under 16s are probably going to be banned. And you know what? Even if this legislation gets overturned, let's just assume, for the sake of our show today, you know, just bear with us. Bear with the Bandido. Let's just assume that when it comes around to spring 2027, that the under 16s are going to be banned. Okay, so, if you are an under 16 watching this, I'm speaking to you. Because at the end of the day, it's going to be you who is probably most pissed off. You know, I'm seeing an alarming number of parents who think this is great. Now, we've talked about this before. I'm not going to go over old ground here. The parents, just to summarise, the parents who think that this social media ban is great, they are lazy and they are looking to absolve themselves of responsibility. That's what those parents are doing. Those parents are too lazy and they have no self-accountability. And because of these two things, they are happy for the government to step in and do what it is that they should be doing in their own household. It goes without saying, folks, the government shouldn't be doing a blanket ban for anyone. This should be the responsibility of the parents. The parents should have the ability to exert influence over their own children in their own household. It should be left in the hands of the parents. That's what I would do. I would say, you know what, I ain't going to ban anyone on social media because I am going to leave this in the hands of the parents. I'm going to hand all the responsibility over to the parents. And here you go, parents, there's your responsibility. It's now in your hands. So if your kid is going down the toilet because they're using too much social media, if their mental health is going down the toilet, it's on you. It's not on me. I, the government, I've made the stance very clear. I'm not intervening. The responsibility is yours. That's what I would do. I would just hand the responsibility right over to the parents and say, you know what? You brought this kid into the world. The world is what it is. There are lots of opportunities. There are lots of traps. It is up to you until that kid is 18. It is up to you. While that kid is living under your roof, while that kid is within your orbit, it is up to you. As a parent, it is your responsibility in this life to try, from your own viewpoint, to try and direct that kid as best as possible. It's your kid. I, the government, it's not my kid, it's your kid. So it's up to you to pave the path for that kid. It's up to you to decide how much you want to try and influence that kid, how much you want to try and educate that kid. It's up to you how much access you want to give that kid to social media, if you even want to give them a phone. That, again, this is what I would do if I was the government. I would just hand the responsibility right over to the parents. So look, any parent that you see endorsing this, you can pretty much take it as a given that they are lazy and they want to absolve themselves of responsibility for their own kid. They want the government to basically do the work that they should be doing for their own kid. They're lazy. And they are dipshits. Okay. So look, I don't want to talk about this from the perspective of parents. We talked about this before on the show. Go and watch. We did a big long show about Meta and, who was it, YouTube, losing their case in court. Remember, YouTube and Meta were in court because, you know, the peons took them. This lawsuit was brought in whereby these average peons were looking to try and get their payout from the social media platforms because their loved ones suffered from mental health issues because of the addictive features, blah-de-blah-de-blah. We did a show on this. It was a live show and a big long one. You can go watch that on the channel. Okay, let's talk about this now from the perspective of the young people. I'm speaking to you, young people, if there are any young people watching, listening to this. So let's assume you are going to be banned from social media in 2027. Let's assume this is going to happen. What can you do? Because look, there's no point in getting angry at this. There's no point in you having a whole bunch of uncontrolled, misdirected, poorly channeled anger. That's not going to do anything for you. Sitting back, moaning and complaining is not going to do anything to improve your circumstances. It's not going to do anything to counteract what is going to be coming your direction next year. So what you need to now do is you need to change your perspective. You need to change your strategy. Because you've got new information from your environment. The new information is you're going to be banned from social media in 2027, in the spring. So, if I was a young person, what would I do? I'm only going to speak from my own perspective. Make of it what you wish. But let me explain to you what I would do if I were an under 16 who is in disagreement with the government about bringing in a nationwide ban on people my age using social media. Let me tell you what I would do if I was one of these people who enjoyed using social media, who wants to continue to use it, but that opportunity is going to be stripped away from me in a few months. Okay, here's what I would do. I disagree with the decision, but what I'm not going to do is I'm not going to allow my emotional state to cloud my judgment. I'm not going to allow my anger to essentially spiral out of control like a wildfire. I'm going to use some of the frustration from this decision, from this legislation, and I'm going to channel it in a productive way. So that's what I'm going to do. And how am I going to do that now? Well, if I were an under 16, what is the problem that I have on my hands at the moment? Well, I'm soon not going to have access to social media. Okay, let's try and unpack what this specifically means. It means that I can't have an account on social media. It doesn't mean I can't access social media. That is the first thing that I would realise if I were an under 16. This is a bit like the smoking ban, folks. Remember all the people who are born? Remember there was a recent piece of legislation brought in. Anybody born after January the 1st, 2009 won't be allowed to legally buy cigarettes. Remember we talked about that on the show? That's a new piece of legislation that's also coming in. Maybe it's already came in. Notice, the legislation says that you're not allowed to legally purchase cigarettes. It doesn't mean you're not allowed to smoke cigarettes. It's the same thing here. You won't be allowed to legally create an account as a 16-year-old to go on to social media. Okay, is that an inconvenience? It is. Is that an obstacle that wasn't present that now is going to be present? Yes. This is what we call a channel factor. Something that makes you have to invest extra effort and energy and time into getting something that you want that you didn't previously have to do. So you didn't have to previously invest this time, energy, and effort into getting said thing, but now you are. Okay, so there's no question that this ban is going to inconvenience you. It's going to introduce an obstacle. It's going to introduce a channel factor. Channel factors being, as we've said, nothing other than obstacles or things that are going to force you to invest extra time and energy into a process that you would otherwise not have needed to invest it in said process. So, The first thing that I would realize is that I'm not banned from social media. Truly, I'm not truly banned from social media. I'm only banned from creating an account of my own. I'm only banned from creating an account that allows me to upload pieces of content. So it's very important to make the distinction here if you're a young person, because you still will have access to social media. You're just going to have to get a little more innovative and creative about how you're going to gain access. Okay, so if you can't have an account, that means you're not going to be able to upload your own content. Fair enough. It means you're not going to be able to use that account to message your friends, to send your friends things on social media. I'm not disputing that that's, an inconvenience. Of course it's an inconvenience. But this is where we're talking about reanalyzing the set of circumstances. So you're not going to have the same ease of access to social media, but you still will be able to access it. So if I were in your shoes, here is what I would be doing. Personally, I would be getting ready. I would be preparing myself, getting my ducks in a row right now. Because notice, right now, you do still have access to social media. Correct? Am I not correct? You do. This ban is going to come in spring 2027. When does spring start? Well, let's just say spring starts in March. So we are currently now in June. So let's count on our fingers. We have July, August, September, October, November, December, January, February. We have 8 months with full access to social media right now, with our accounts and everything. We have 8 months to prepare for the worst case scenario, which is we are going to be banned. So, again, I'm only speaking from my perspective. The first thing I would realize is that I'm not banned from social media. That's point number 1. I may not have an account, but I will still be able to use social media. That's important to realize. Number 2, I have 8 months to prepare for this. That's a second very important thing that I would realize. I have 8 months to try and get a plan in place. Now, what would I be doing in these 8 months? Again, I'm only going to speak from my perspective. If I'm accepting the fact that in 8 months I'm not going to have an account, there's no point in me trying to figure out a way how I can create an Instagram account with my name. That's not going to be possible. So, I won't be able to create the account. But, could I get someone else to create the account for me who is over 16? Of course I can. Of course. It's just like the cigarettes. Could I get someone who wasn't born, or who was born before January the 1st, 2009, sometime before that, could I get that person to buy me cigarettes legally? Yes, and then I can just smoke the cigarettes. It's the same thing here. I may not be able to actually create my own account, and that may be frustrating, but it doesn't mean I can't have an account. So you see, in this 8-month period between right now and March the 1st, 2027, if I was an under 16, if I was a young person who's going to be affected by this ban, you know what I would be doing? I would be out networking. I would be talking to people. I would be getting a structure in place. This ban is going to come in. How can I ensure that I have accounts sitting ready to go? They aren't my accounts, they are someone else's accounts, but if I can get somebody else to manage the account on my behalf, I will be able to use social media. I will have access to social media, either to post stuff if I'm a content creator, or to use that person's account as and when I choose. That's what I would do. Now, it's going to require you as a young person to invest effort, time and energy that you would otherwise not have had to if this ban didn't exist. Yes. Is it an inconvenience that you're going to have to do this? Yes. But it's going to happen. That's the assumption we're going to make. So right now, if I were a young person, I would be going out into the world, whether it's the real world or the online world, and I would be using the next 8 months. Remember, this ban isn't coming in tomorrow. It's not even coming in next month. You're going to have all of this year and at least 2 months next year to actually talk to a whole bunch of people, either online or in the real world. And you know what you can do as a young person who's under 16? You can start to get a whole bunch of people to put in place accounts using their name because they're over 16. Remember, they're over 16. So what I would be doing is I would be going and finding a whole bunch of people who are over 16, and I would be starting to talk and collaborate with them. I would use this as an opportunity to start collaborating with people, because there are going to be offshoot benefits to doing this. I would spin this ban into a positive. I would turn this perceived negative into a positive. And so I would now go out into the world and start talking to people. That's what I would start to do. I would start going out, talking to people who are over 16 and trying to establish a collaborative relationship with those people. I would go and explain myself. I would say, look, I'm under 16 and I still want to use social media. I want to be a content creator. I want my content to still appear on the online space. And I also want to have access to social media so that I can message my friends, so that I can send my friends stuff, so that I can contact people who aren't in my country, etc., etc. So I would start going. In this 8-month period, I would start to find people who are over 16 and I would start collaborating with them. I would explain my circumstances, I would explain my goals and ambitions, and I would start to put together my own team. So that when this ban comes in, I've got a whole bunch of social media accounts, not in my name, but in the name of my collaborators that I've now struck up a relationship with. That's what I would do. And then you see, whenever the time comes, when it hits May the 1st, when it comes into spring 2027, I have all of my accounts. Boom, boom, boom. I have my Instagram accounts, my Facebook accounts, my X accounts, my YouTube accounts. I have my TikTok account. I have it all sitting there ready to go. It's not in my name. It's in someone else's name. But it doesn't matter, because all you need to do is buy time. That's all you need to do. You just need to find a way to buy yourself time, to ensure that you can still gain access to the social media, to ensure that you still have a way to be a content creator if that's what you want to be, to ensure that you still have a way to contact your friends, etc. You just need to buy enough time until you're over 16, and then none of this applies to you. Will this require extra effort and energy? Yes, I keep repeating this. You're going to have to. You're going to have to put your frustration, you know, your uncontrolled rage and anger at this decision, you're going to have to take that and channel it. You're going to have to channel it. Don't allow it to just go everywhere. Channel it. Take this as an opportunity. Don't see this as a negative. Don't see this as some cruel twist, some cruel thing that the universe has bestowed upon you. No. Use this as an opportunity to do something that you actually wouldn't have done had you had access to social media as normal. You now have an opportunity to collaborate with other people, to strike up relationships with other people that you wouldn't previously have struck up relationships with. You don't know what those interactions are going to lead to. If you do what I would do, which is use this 8-month period to get my ducks in a row. In other words, use this 8-month period to get all of my different social media accounts on all of the different platforms in place, ready to go under someone else's name. If I spend 8 months doing this, I'm now going to be interacting with a fuck ton of people. A shit ton of people. I'm going to be talking to people all the time. I'm going to be striking up collaborations with people, bringing something valuable to the table. I'm going to be I could incentivize them in some way. You know? offer incentives. You know, if you're making someone part of the collaborative process, you know, give them some incentive to work with you. You know, you could set up some sort of a little split. You know, you allow me to use the social media account, you allow me to use a social media account in your name, and any profits that this generates, you get, oh, I don't know, 20 or 30%. I'm just throwing that off the top of my head. You get 30% of any profits, I get 70, that's the split. I'm the content creator, so I'm creating all the content, but I'm going to allow you access to 30% of the profits if it makes any profits. Oh, I'm just shooting off the top of my head. If you're not looking to be a content creator and you're just looking access to social media, incentivize the person in some other way. Say that you'll cut their lawn. Say that you'll cut their lawn. Say that you'll clean their house. Say that you'll tidy their shed every week. Say that you'll wash their car every week. I don't know. Whoever this over 16 person is, this person who's over 16 years of age, you need to start interacting with those people, that's what I would do, and offering them an incentive for this collaboration. And I don't know what that incentive looks like. It depends on the person. It depends what age they are. It depends what their perspective is on the whole thing. I don't know. I'm just throwing this out here. This is what I would be doing. I would be talking to all these people, and depending on who I'm talking with, if the person's sort of hemming and hawing and they're on the fence, well then I'll try and incentivize them maybe. See what they throw back my way. Who knows? You might bump into someone that says, you know what, I really appreciate your hustle and your industriousness. I'm just going to create the platform for you. You don't need to give me anything. Who knows? You need to go out and try though, would be my point. You need to go out and try and collaborate with people. And perhaps you may need to use some sort of an incentive to get the person on board. If you're dealing with an older person, things like cleaning their fucking shed, mowing their lawn, washing their car, I don't know. Offer them an incentive. Give them something out of the negotiation. Give them something in this transaction. If you're getting their social media account under their name, give them some skin in the game so that they feel involved. Whatever that may be. But that is what I would be doing. Over the next 8 months, I would be collaborating and speaking to a shit ton of people, and I would be operating under the assumption that I'm going to be banned as of March the 1st, 2027. And what I would do is, I would be striking up rapport and a whole bunch of collaborations with people that are on board with my vision, on board with what it is that I want to do with social media. Because I'm under 16 and I still want access to it. So that's me. And then by the time spring 2027 comes around, I now have all of my accounts sitting, ready to go, under other people's names. We've got a collaborative relationship. I've already set the groundwork for it over the last 8 months. The person who has the account knows what my goals and ambitions are. We've set out a plan. We know how we're going to use the platform together. And so when the ban comes in, my preparation in advance means that I have buffered myself against the worst consequences of the ban. I am more buffered relative to somebody else who has not put in the time to set this up. Is it an inconvenience? Yes. Should you even have to do this? No. As I've said already, I wouldn't be banning under 16s. But the world is what it is. If you live in the UK, and you're going to be living in the UK, as of spring the 1st, or as of spring 2027, March the 1st, then you would be better operating under the assumption that it's going to happen than it isn't. Because that now means you're going to be prepared. And if you turn this negative into a positive, you could actually start to get a whole bunch of offshoot opportunities through all of these collaborations with people. You are now going to be speaking with real people. And also, that's before I even introduce the idea of collaborating with an AI. You know, could you, in theory, gain access to an AI and start running your thought process through it and seeing what it churns back your direction? Of course you could. This is actually more a controllable than what you think. People think, oh, well, Keir Starmer, he's introduced a social media ban for under 16s. This is unfair. I'm poor and helpless against this. No, you aren't. There are a whole bunch of controllables here that you can actually influence. The question is, could you be arsed? And here's the thing. You see the young people that are really motivated and are really passionate about this and who really want access to social media independent of this ban? They will find a way. They will do something similar to what I would be doing right now. As soon as this was announced, 24 hours ago or whenever the fuck it was announced, I would have been getting the wheels in motion and starting this 8-month journey of preparation towards me getting my house in order, towards me getting all of my social platforms set up under someone else's name, under a different account that isn't my own, and establishing a whole bunch of collaborative relationships with those people. Fuck knows what opportunities are going to come off this beyond just having access to the social media. When you're talking to people and you're collaborating, and if there's mutual benefit, if you're benefiting and the person's benefiting, who knows what comes off those interactions? And then if we introduce a wee bit of AI here and use that as a collaborator also, I'm not saying that you should just exclusively use the AI. I'm not saying that you should do away with the humans. Just use the AI as another collaborator. Think of it just as another collaborator. You have a problem, you're trying to solve the problem. How do I gain access to social media when this ban comes in? Collaborate is what I would be doing. And I would be using these 8 months to do exactly that. So, that is what I would do. I wouldn't see this as a negative. I would initially see it as an inconvenience, but then I would change that negative into a positive very quickly and realize, well, hold on a second. By this actually happening, this has potentially opened up a whole bunch of opportunities through collaborative processes that I would otherwise not have been engaging in. This is a positive. This could lead to things that I would never have imagined. Because if this ban didn't exist, I'd still be just on my phone. Fudging, probably. Mindlessly scrolling. Doom scrolling. Now this is going to separate... You know, we have that saying, folks. Separating the wheat from the chaff. This is what this is going to do. The people, the under 16s who really want social media, they are going to jump over this hurdle, this obstacle of inconvenience. They're going to make it happen. If I were a young person, I would make this happen. I have 8 months to make it happen. It's not as if I'm against time pressure. It's just a case of how much you want it. So young people of the world, to all of you under 16s, who think this is a terrible thing, it is a temporary inconvenience, which could actually lead to a whole bunch of opportunities that you would otherwise never have had access to, had the ban not came in. And now you have the opportunity to collaborate. You have the ability to go out and forge your own destiny in the social media space. That's what you're doing. You're actively taking control of your own destiny. And you're going to make it happen. You can do that. That's what I would do. But again, I'm not here to impose anything on anyone. At the end of the day, folks, everybody has their own worldview. I'm just telling you what I would do. But please realize, there are more controllables in this equation than what you may think. And the decision ultimately rests with you. How much do you want it? Because if you want something bad enough, folks, you can always make steps towards getting it. And along the way, towards what it is that you want, who knows what other opportunities could start flowing your direction. It's a journey, folks. Embrace it and put in the work now. See where it takes you. Channel that rage and frustration that you may be feeling. Channel it in a productive way. And once you do that, well, isn't the little bit of uncertainty in life what keeps us on our toes? I don't know exactly what is going to come off this for any given individual. But what I do know is taking action always leads to opportunity. I don't know what opportunity it leads to, but taking action, being active in the forging, in the creation of the path that you want to walk on, if you actively engage with that through taking action, all I can say is opportunities will come. If you just sit there, moan, complain, whine, and bitch, I'm afraid you're going to overlook the universe's opportunities. The decision is with you, folks. Get busy doing stuff. Get busy preparing.